thank you so much for attending. This is going to be a real treat for the end of the year. Richard and I have known each other for a while. We've been operating in the same space, and this has been a long time due. So without further ado, guys, we're going to be talking a lot about the LinkedIn sales funnels. This honestly, like, I heard this, topic a couple of times before, where people talk about, your profile should not be a resume. Your profile should be like a landing page converting, right? Like, but Richard's going to take this to the next step, to the next level with his 5-step social selling method and how to really optimize for conversions. So a bit about Richard. If you guys don't know him already, he's always on LinkedIn, growing tremendously, a great number of followers and a great community. He's an international keynote speaker, top social selling voice. Again, if you know him, I don't have to tell you that. Founder of the Tribe community, thriving agency behind him. And without his permission, I did leave contact info here. So you guys can reach out to Richard. He's super helpful. So if you have any inquiries, really now's the time. Richard, what did I miss saying?
No, you said everything right. I really picked up the keynote speaking since actually last year. Obviously, we had the pandemic where all the events were like canceled and postponed. But I also noticed that a lot of my clients and a lot of interesting companies are, especially now, January, February, a lot of companies have the sales kickoff meetings.
Right.
And I have some nice bookings. So I really like to do that. Besides being active, like you said, being active on LinkedIn and posting content and being there, I really like to share my insights, being on a real stage. Yeah, the top social selling voice. I think are you referring to the collaborative articles? Or is this just like a stamp you give me yourself? Because I value the last one better than the top social selling voice from the collaborative articles.
Say no more. That's true. The latter is true. Like, it's my stamp, and now it's officially given. It's a Lee Delta stamp.
Cool. I value that. No, it's a great intro.
I really appreciate having you here, Rich. And again, I know you're busy, so we're gonna get right into the questions. Couple of things, guys. We don't like running slides, but still, they told me that it's kind of useful to just present the host. I run a company called Lee Delta, serial software entrepreneur. Had many failures, but also some successes and exits. And so now we're at it again. I really believe in the power of people, good, smart people coming together to build great things. So that's why I proud myself with. You can always find me on Twitter, X, LinkedIn, obviously, and that at leedelta.com. So by all means, go and look me up there. Quick plan for today. As I said, we're going to unlock the power of LinkedIn as a sales funnel. This is actually pretty cool and very intentional. Last webinar, we did have Ivana from AuthorDub. We talked about content. We talked about like how to build and position yourself with the power of the content. And now we're going even more down the funnel, speaking of funnels. And with Richard, we're going to talk about how do you actually convert it? How do you actually turn that into business? And then obviously we're going to have a lot of space for the Q&A. There's a whole bunch of questions you guys sent us already prior to this webinar. And we're going to do our best to cover most of the questions. Again, do not hesitate to put your questions in while we are going over the content so you guys don't forget. And allow me as a host to choose and select which ones we're going to address immediately while the topic is hot and active. All right, final notes. Lee Delta is your single workspace for companies' relationships. We're slowly but surely going into a CRM direction with a little bit of our own spiel, which is we're focusing on personal relationships instead of deals and organizations and this and that. We're going to focus exactly on who do you know and how well do you know them. So 2024 is going to be all about that. We just released Lee Delta 3.0, whole bunch of new stuff that got shipped, including the AI Prospector and Sparkle, which is utilizing GPT technologies, tasks and reminders that I'm proud of, and a beta integration with HubSpot. So there's a whole bunch of new stuff that you guys should check. So proud of our customers in our community. This is our Hall of Fame, from earning the Golden Kitty Award, the best SaaS of 2022 in February earlier this year, to a whole bunch of these great, amazing reviews that we are receiving from all over the place. Amazing team is waiting for you behind the curtains of a product. So you're going to be well in good hands and supported. Finally, by the end of the month, use this opportunity. You literally get 6 months off or 50% off on a yearly plan. Just use the BFCM coupon code, or just reach out to our support and we'll take care of you. That's it. Super easy. We're going right into the juicy part. So I'm going to start with a first question for Richard to open things up. LinkedIn, we all know LinkedIn is a gold mine. So can you just give us like a big bold success story or a case study where you've seen a business dramatically transformed with the power of LinkedIn and your sales process? So give us that use case that you've seen over the years being really like top notch when they applied your advice and how LinkedIn is supposed to be run.
Cool. Yeah, always when people ask me about success stories, I always wonder whether I should start with our own success story, because we were 3 years ago, I was by myself after having an agency in Holland. I moved from Holland to Spain 5 years ago. And that was the first time after I founded Just Connect in 2009 that I was without any employees. And at the moment we were at 16 people, just like you, having an amazing team and providing a lot of cool stuff for a lot of cool companies all over the world. And it's amazing because we don't do sales. We teach people how to use LinkedIn for sales, but we don't do sales. The only thing we do is we push out so much content and earn our spot as thought leaders that we get so many requests that we just need to qualify them. But let me tell you about another company. It's Straight Line Leadership. It's a consulting company in the Netherlands. And they came to us. It's a very sales-driven company. So it's a very traditional sales-driven company. They do a lot of cold calling. They organize offline events aimed at C-level executives, and they give like leadership coaching and leadership programs. So what they do, the cold calling and organizing the events, is actually to warm up people in order to make themselves known, talk about the added value, talk about thought leadership, and make the people interested in becoming like a member of their programs. And obviously, I don't want to say that cold calling is dead, because it's not, because every day I meet people who are very great at it, but responses are getting less and less. So what we did with them, we implemented, and I know we're going to discuss our 5-step social selling method, but we implemented the 5-step social selling method. So instead of doing the cold calling, instead of sending a book, they wrote a book and they sent a hard copy of a book to 500 executives, and they needed to fill 100 seats in an event. Okay, so imagine the cost of sending out 500 books. And their conversion rate was about, 6%, 7%, around that. So they would have 30, 35 people. So what we did, we draw up with them a content strategy. We started to work with smart links. We started to work with a 5-step social selling method. And now they're completely filling their offline events with the target audience just by LinkedIn. So if you talk about the first conversion from reaching out to executives who've never heard about your company to get their time to physically come up on your event, and then the next conversion they need to do obviously at the event. But they have had very successful events ever since they started to work with LinkedIn for actually identifying, engaging, and inviting their target audience. It really changed the way how they approach sales now. And I loved what you said about Lee Delta, putting relationships central, because that's what we're doing in this strategy as well. First the relationship, then talk about the business. And with cold calling and everything, it looks like it's the other way around.
It's the advertising, right? It's you keep seeing the falling yield curve on that. Now, folks, if I may say, it's not really you should not do it, but you have to really follow how it's evolving, right? And the way I see cold anything anymore is more like an additional touch point, advertising touch point. It has to be ultra light, almost no links, no nonsense, right? It's just ultra light. And you really have to focus these days on segmentation more than personalization. Segmentation is the new personalization. So but like as Richard mentioned, like I think being a media company almost, and turning your people into kind of little media moguls within the business is I think what we're seeing success when in last year and the coming year, well, this year and the coming year. All right, very cool. So tell us this now. All right, there are lots of these success stories. Like, what are some common misconceptions about LinkedIn as a sales channel, and how does your approach address these?
Well, the best question that really pisses me off is if somebody asks in the start, like, okay, what's the ROI of everything we're going to do on LinkedIn? And I go like, okay, that's I understand the question, but I hate the question. Because it means that you are going to compare LinkedIn with, for example, cold calling. Because if you cold call 100 companies to make appointments and you get 4 appointments, the ROI is clear. But if you start publishing on LinkedIn, if you start reaching out on LinkedIn, if you start to build your brand as a thought leader, it takes time before you see the conversion. It takes time before you get the buzz. It takes time before you're recognized as a thought leader. So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that LinkedIn is an easy, quick channel to generate business. It might be an incidentally like hit, but I always tell people, like, whatever you're going to do it for 6 months before you start thinking about, okay, what's the ROI? And it's the same if you organize an event. Okay, what's the ROI of an event? You might not have conversion at the event, but maybe 3-4 months later, somebody who was at the event, remembers you, comes back to you. And so that's the first thing. Second, and that's a bit of a trend, I'm afraid, it's the mass approach. People using LinkedIn as a cold selling tool. You have a lot of automation tools nowadays, and I do care about efficiency. I do know that salespeople don't have the time to write 100 personalized invites, 100 personalized follow-up messages, but sending out 200 emails or 100 emails a day that are not personalized just with a copy paste, it's not going to do the job. So don't underestimate the other side of the negotiation table.
100%.
You need to be part of the ecosystem. That's always what I say. You cannot stand at the sideline, throw your messages in, try to convert while not being part of the ecosystem, meaning while not engaging yourself, while not making an effort to grow your network, while not making an effort to grow other people in your network and support other people in your network. If you're part of the ecosystem, you will see much faster results than if you stand at the sideline throwing some, lucky shots and hoping that a lot of it will come back.
100%. Now, one interesting thing that I want to drill on, most voices will tell you, but it works, Richard. Like I send like this many messages, and 5% response back, and then I convert this many. How do you respond to that?
Oh, that's very easy. That's very easy because I've had several numbers of people that were in a training and said, like, I used to work with automation, it worked for me. And I said, okay, let's analyze this. What worked for you? He said, well, I have 4 meetings after 2 weeks of messages. Okay, how many messages did you send? I don't know, somewhere between 500-600. Okay, so you send 500-600 messages to connections or followers, and you have 4. But he said, yeah, but it literally took me like 20 minutes because I have this program, it combines. Right. And so 20 minutes for. And then I go, do you have any idea what the damage for your reputation is, for your network position is, to the 596 people who didn't reply? Because he said, I have 4 meetings. I have 4 people who responded like to the message saying like, how are you doing? And all the other people, they didn't care to respond. I said, no, because they think you're an asshole, because you're seeing them as sitting ducks. And everybody knows that you're using automation because it's a tone of voice. You can start with hi, Richard, or hi, Ved. But if the second sentence is not like, hey, Ved, I really saw your update on Lead Delta recently. Wow, what a great journey you have. If it's not like that, but it's, hi, Ved, we have been connected for several years now, never had a chance. I wonder, then everybody understands that it's automation. So always have a look at the reputation damage you do if you treat your network as sitting ducks, and don't go for the quick win.
I love this. This is so important to understand, and I think it goes back to the good old days of motivational books and whatnot, like and the basic principles where it's a bank account, like treat it as a bank account, right? You have the plus and you minus, and if you keep taking out the money out of the bank account, well, you're soon gonna get into credit, right? And the same thing happens with your personal connections. If you keep burning those personal connections, well, where do you think that's going to take you, right? You have to be mostly kind of giving. So give first, ask second, right? It's just basic principles of networking and like getting value. Awesome. Well, that's really great. All right. And so now that we have some basics and you guys know who you're talking to and what their kind of basic premises are of LinkedIn, that we're going to build on. Now, I want to ask you this, when thinking of dynamics of LinkedIn network, like algorithms, like call them, differently, how do you recommend businesses adjust their plans, to the evolving, LinkedIn user base, which is now 1 billion, and also all the new algorithms and changes? Like, how do you recommend they adjust plans in 2024?
I think, especially if we talk about sales, and I started working in sales back in '99. I'm that old, but one of the first things I learned about sales is that every sales you do is based on trust. Okay, without trust, there's no sales. If people don't trust you, they don't buy from you. So I think, regardless of any changes in the algorithm, because not every, but I think 95% of all people see a serious drop in engagement and reach. I see it myself. I have about 40% less reach, 40% less engagement. I have the same conversion though. Okay, so I'm not complaining. I really like to have all my posts reach about 100,000 views. I'm currently stuck at 50,000, but hey, as long as I see the conversion, it's good. So I think people need to understand also in 2024 that trust and credibility together with consistency, that is really key. Okay, so be consistent in everything you do, like your content strategy, your follow-up strategy, your own engagement strategy. And for the bigger companies, I think 2024 is really going to be the year where you need to finally understand that marketing and sales need to collaborate on LinkedIn, and that they need to be aware, like, what is their part in the total lead generation process? Because I still see marketing from a corporate profile trying to get leads. While I think, and I have a very strong opinion about that, marketing should aim for brand awareness, increase brand awareness, putting the name of your company, your solutions, like in the feed of your target audience. And sales is the one that needs to follow up on one-on-one. That's their main job is to convert. Their main job is to generate leads, but they need each other. They need each other to play the game and to actually make sure that your target audience not only knows you, but they trust you even before the sales rep reach out to you.
100%. Guys, I write us in the comments, yes or yes. Tell us, so do you agree with this or not? And by all means, go tweet, go post on LinkedIn, because that's exactly what I would do right now if I were you, because these are some golden nuggets by Richard. I definitely agree. So basically, guys, don't get too stressed about 2024. There's nothing crazy gonna come there, nothing's gonna change. It's good old basics. And Richard is a great reminder of it, like with his businesses. And I think this is what you have to have in mind, like nothing without consistency, nothing without trust and collaboration.
A few months ago, Ved, I published a post. It was a carousel post made by Nayesa, who also is in this call. She makes all my great carousels, by the way. It was a post about a dance between a salesperson and a buyer. I'm a very lousy dancer, and my girlfriend, she's from Argentina. She dances like the best. So we have a mismatch there.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest mismatch that I see on LinkedIn as well. We salespeople, we still believe that our clients have joined LinkedIn to be sold stuff, and that's not true. So even though that they are there, they have a completely different reason for being there. They are catching up with a network. They are making sure they stay on top of the news in their industry. They make sure they have all the news about innovations. So if you pitch yourself without trust and credibility, you just strengthen the mismatch, because we want to sell our products, but our target audience is not on LinkedIn to be sold anything. So you need to become relevant first. You need to provide insights first before they even consider having a chat with you. Let's stand alone buying from you. So that's a very good. We need to remember that, like, our clients are not on LinkedIn to be sold anything.
We need to. I'll get Milana and the team to make some nice posters out of this. We need to print this out, and distribute to our clients. So this is great. All right. So now let's shift gears. Let's talk even more specific. How do you optimize a profile? What are the top kind of 3 to 5 changes you want to see people optimizing for a maximum conversion? Let's say I'm posting. I'm like Richard.
Yeah.
I'm sharing insights, relentlessly. I'm helping my audience succeed, and they're like, "Oh my God, let's see who this Richard guy is." So I go to Richard's profile. What do I see? Is it a resume?
No, it's not. No, I really like this question about what should I optimize on my profile. In fact, a strategic profile optimization session is always the first session we start with our clients. And many of the salespeople who have been on LinkedIn for ages, they are a bit hesitant to join that session. It's mandatory, but they go like, my profile, I've been on LinkedIn for ages, I don't need to change. I've optimized my profile. If somebody says to me, I've optimized my profile, my first question is, how? I mean, did you fill all the blanks? Or do you understand how buyers are researching your profile? Because buyers are not recruiters, okay? They screen, they scroll, and they skip information. So you need to be aware. So there are main 3 points based on research. First thing is what we call first impression, okay? So this is, you click on your profile, and without scrolling, what do I see, okay? So 35% of buyers, believe it or not, they don't scroll. So they have your name from someone else, or you popped up at the top of the ranks. They open your profile, and without scrolling, they need to be convinced that you can be like the chosen one, okay? So that means banner, profile picture, headline, and anything related to creator mode. So I mean the hashtags, I mean like a top social selling voice, those badges in terms of social proof, but also your profile link. Those need to be like optimized towards providing added value for your clients. Okay, so I have, for example, a headline should address your target audience and your added value. Your banner should not be a company logo. It should almost be a promise. What are you going to provide for your clients? Okay, so they need to feel like this is about me. This is not about the person himself. This is about me being a potential client. Second is your featured section. Not even 20% of LinkedIn members have a featured section, okay? A featured section is very important because you can highlight, emphasize the most important parts. Because once people start to scroll in creator mode, the first thing they see is featured section. So here you have 3 visual opportunities to create an impression and to emphasize your added value. Always add at least 1 easy call to action. This could be sign up for my newsletter. This could be schedule a call. This could be, apply for a demo, but always have at least 1 in your featured section to be a very easy call to action. So don't put anything there like, hey, buy your new software package here, because that's a bigger decision. But if you want people who are in doubt, who are hesitant to connect with you, to contact you, but they feel that they need to find a solution, if you provide them with a quick, easy CTA, they go for it, okay? So that's very important. And you can check out my featured section. I currently have 3 call to actions. And I came from a strategy where I would highlight my main posts, okay? My best performing posts. But if you only have your best performing post, and obviously people can click on the post, but it doesn't bring them any like nearer to you. But if I have sign up for my newsletter, book your 50-minute free call or whatsoever, then I offer people a chance to make one step closer to like eventually towards a deal. And the last thing I would say, make an effort in your about section, because that's probably the only text section that a client potentially will read. So also have information about who are you, why are you the expert I need to talk to, how can your services or products help me, which challenges do you help me to overcome, and don't forget a call to action. If I want to connect with you, and offer a multi-channel approach. I mean, if you only say like, hey, if you consider working with Lead Delta, then drop me a message and connect with me, then I push you towards the connection. But if I say, if you're interested in working with Lead Delta, then send me an email at vad@leaddelta, call me here, or send me a motivated connection request. I offer my audience their preferred channel to connect with me. That's also very important. We as sellers, we don't decide the channel anymore, because you will lose buyers based on your preference. If you say like, hey, these are my channels, choose the one that you prefer, it's their call.
I really didn't want to interrupt you, man. I was holding my tongue. We have Crystal
Okay,
saying
go ahead.
the number of golden nuggets you're dishing out is invaluable. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for commenting. Keep the conversation active. It's actually super helpful getting live feedback. I also heard, Richard, like, you know, typically, like much like any other like landing page, your eyes go from left to right. And so the first thing you see like is top of the banner or even the image of a person, right? Like that's kind of first thing you're drawn to. It's almost like when you're meeting somebody, right? Like in person, like first thing you kind of scan them in like a, you know, a split second. And so what would you say is the next first thing is like you see the banner, you see like the little title. And then even if you gain their trust, which is what you mentioned, right? Then you go to the featured, and then maybe I read about and who the hell you are, right? But that's I think that's very important. And what you said as well is like really, you know, don't come up with a channel. Let your buyers decide on a channel. I think that's golden. Very cool.
One more thing, that because a lot of people they always mention the added value of recommendations, client recommendations on your profile, and I do agree that having client testimonials, recommendations is a very necessary social proof. But LinkedIn has put them at the bottom of your profile, okay? And the majority of buyers, they don't scroll as far. Now, so in your content strategy, you need to implement the social proof. And if people have a business subscription, since 2 months, it's now possible to highlight one recommendation, for example, in your featured section, okay? So don't think that having recommendations on your profile will do the job, because LinkedIn has located them way down on your profile. Buyers will normally not get there, so you need to be your best ambassador of your own recommendations. That's the only thing I want to say more on the profile.
Beautiful. This is by far, and we're not going to tell you where we're going to have a recording or not, guys. So like that's we're still to decide that. But I'm glad someone is posting. Naresh and Richard are posting Richard's profile. So do connect, do reach out, and check those CTAs on Richard's profile. Wonderful. So what type of content have you found to be the most effective in engaging LinkedIn audiences? What type of content?
Fred, when was the last time when you went to a restaurant, like a really good restaurant?
Yeah,
you. Oh. When did you visit a very good restaurant for the last time?
Six days ago, we celebrated a friend's birthday, so like a week ago.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
And you had a big meal, like with an entrance, with a first course, a second course, like a dessert.
No, we had a good bottle of wine, and we had just one dish.
You had one dish, okay? Because I always say, when people say what kind of content should I have to see conversion, I always use this metaphor of a restaurant. I went like 2 months ago. I went with friends to a very good restaurant in Valencia. We had like an entrance, and we had a first dish. We waited a second dish. We had And I'm a gin tonic. We had several gin tonics, and the reason why I'm telling this story is that everything about that event, from entrance to first meal, second meal, dessert, and gin tonic, was great.
Right.
And it's the mix that really stood out for me. So also with the content, it's the mix, because a lot of people, they know me from my carousel post, or let's say my algorithm post. No, that's Richard is known for the algorithm post. But if I would only publish algorithm posts, I wouldn't have the success that I have now. So it's the mix. And I use 5 pillars in my content strategy. I do a lot of personal storytelling. I'm not hesitant to share personal stuff on LinkedIn because I don't use Facebook that much. I'm not a very heavy user of X. I don't have Instagram. And LinkedIn is my network. I mean, my friends, my family are there. My clients are there. I consider them also as friends. So if I have anything to share from a personal standpoint, I publish it on LinkedIn. And you will be surprised. We all recognize this, how many engagements you get if you're really showing up and tell a story from your heart. Second, thought leadership content. So this you need to position yourself as the expert, as the person to go to in your network. Okay. Those are my carousel posts, with the tips and everything, the algorithm. That's thought leadership content. Third pillar, event content. I publish a post about us doing this webinar. I publish a post about me going in October to Athens to be on stage on the social media day in Athens. So if you go somewhere or your company is organizing anything, that's like, you need to post that, because the goal of event content is that it offers our target audience touch points. They can visit us, they can see us, they can hear from us. And then you have also a pillar that I say industry related content. So every now and then I share things about how the sales business, being a salesperson evolves. I share stuff about AI and how AI affects being a salesperson. So that's industry related. And then the last pillar is actually something that you need to do very subtle, because that's the pillar where you position yourself as a solution provider. So that's me telling like, hey, if you want to be on top of the news of LinkedIn, if you don't want to miss any strategies on LinkedIn, you need to join my tribe. And this is what a tribe offers you. Now, this is content that if you do this too much, people see this as pitchy and spammy, okay? Because you're selling you. But I see a lot of salespeople or a lot of entrepreneurs not having this pillar. So they're only putting out thought leadership content, event content, personal stories. And then if you ask me, like, what is it that this person offers? Like, what is his core business? I don't have an idea. I don't know, because he never talks about what he does. So every 1 out of 15, maybe 1 out of 10, 12 posts, I always remember myself, okay, now it's time again to emphasize, if you want to book me as a keynote speaker, this is how I'm at. If you want to join my tribe, just to make people aware, like, okay, I'm sharing a lot of stuff for free, but if you want to have me at your side, this is where you can connect with me. Beautiful. Those 5 in a combination, that's where you hit the heart of LinkedIn lead generation.
That's where the magic happens. And you're personal is where you get the most engagement, right? Like, this is where people really like go, oh, I feel like I got to know Richard a bit better.
Yeah, and it's amazing, because I've been on LinkedIn since 2005 actually, and I changed my strategy 2020, and it accelerated, and I'm always wondering, or sometimes I cannot even believe the impact that my LinkedIn growth has on my personal life. I mean, I every now and then have people coming up to me on events or even in the street of Valencia saying like, hey, I follow you on LinkedIn since 2 years. I really value, and thanks to you tips, this is what I achieved. And I go like, well, I had no idea, because I don't know you, but people who are following me. So another good thing, obviously, is that it brings you around the world. I've been to Austin, New York. I've been to all over Europe. I've been to Marrakesh. I've been to Dubai, simply because people see the content on LinkedIn and say, hey, we need to invite this guy and have this guy for a company. So it's for me, it's like really a life-changing impact that the things I do on LinkedIn have on my real life.
100%. Whoever is listening here from the Late Delta team, put this as an idea. Next company retreat, Richard comes with us. We usually do it at the beach or somewhere. So,
I'm in.
Awesome. All right. There's a whole bunch of questions I want to ask Richard, but I
Go ahead.
love and I love how we dive deep on things, and so I just want to go right into it. Like I want to go onto your 5-step social selling method, and I want to really go deep on that. So can you briefly summarize the 5 steps, and we'll take
Yep.
it apart one by one.
Yeah, it's very easy. So step 1, identify. You need to understand how you can use the free version of LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, preferably combined, to identify the companies you want to target, but even more important, the decision makers within the company you want to target. So that's step 1, identify. Second, engage. Okay. So whether you save your leads on a Sales Navigator list, whether you ring their bells or follow them on regular LinkedIn, but what we've seen is that if you engage prior to your reach out, you get 3 to 4 times more positive responses. Okay. So engage. Third step, I already said it, reach out. Okay. So you have a few options. You have the in-mail. I'm not a very big fan of the in-mail. You have the connection request. That's my preferred way. Or you have the way more traditional managed sales teams, they go like, okay, I do the identifying part on LinkedIn, and then I go like via any kind of tool, I get their emails or their phone numbers, and I dive back into my old traditional sales. I would always say reach out, do it on LinkedIn, okay? Because you have the trust of the platform. Fourth step, building trust before the 5th step, and that's conversion. Okay, and conversion, I don't mean conversion to a deal, but I mean conversion to getting your first initial meeting with a potential client.
Beautiful. So let's go right in. So there are 5 steps: identify, engage, obviously reach out, build trust, and convert. And by conversion, do not hard close, but actually start the conversation, start the funnel, the bottom of the funnel, right? Okay. Let's give us your nuggets, golden nuggets, as it seems to be, on identifying in the first step. How do we actually do that? And I would love to spend more time on identifying, or a segmentation sort of a way, and deciding what your goal is. Because if we go all the way back to what Rich was saying about your profile, one thing I think I failed to ask you is like, what's your goal, right? Like you need to figure out what's your goal. Is your goal to recruit the new talent? Like your profile should change and evolve based on your goals, right? And so very, very important. So speaking of identifying, how do we tackle that first step properly?
Okay, so this again, it depends obviously a lot of who is your target audience. I mean, if you're working, let's say, if your target audience are solo entrepreneurs, okay, it's completely different than if you target, for example, let's say international corporates like, I don't know, IBM, Nestle, Capgemini, Siemens, okay, because they have like huge decision-making units, they have local markets, so it depends. Right. A few things that are very important. First of all, we work with what we call a 4-layer approach, okay, identify. So first layer is decision makers. So let me give you an example how we use it in our own company. So we try to aim for sales decision makers or marketing decision makers, okay? Because like 85% of all the things we do is working with sales or marketing teams. So this could mean that you have like a chief sales officer or a chief marketing officer, you know, or a president of sales or a VP president of sales or a VP of marketing. Unfortunately, accelerated by the pandemic, where a lot of sales teams in utter panic went to LinkedIn and started to send out a lot of in-mails, their response rate of C-level has dropped below 2% on in-mails and even on connection requests. Okay, so we see that it can be quite hard to reach that like stage. So then we say, okay, second layer is the influencer layer, which means if a CSO is not responding, a VP of sales is not responding, I'm going to the influencer level, meaning sales managers, sales directors, account managers, business development managers. Okay. And I'm going to try to connect with them or identify them, because if I start working them and give them the golden nuggets, they will come a point that they go, hey, our VP of sales needs to know about this. Our chief sales officer needs to know about this. Third layer is champions. Okay, there are two different ways to think about champions. First way is, for example, if you know anyone within the company, regardless their job role. So it might be someone working at IT department. It might be someone working at HR, but you know them well. You can like send them a message, call them and say like, hey, I think your company could be a really good match with our company. I'm trying to get in contact with these type of persons. What is your advice to help me? Okay, so that's why it's called a champion, somebody who's willing to help you further. LinkedIn also sees champions as the people who produce a lot of content on LinkedIn. So if you have Sales Navigator and you have the spotlight filter posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days, okay, here you find the people who are above average active. So they will provide you with a lot of hooks. You know they're active LinkedIn users, so try to connect with them and try to work them and try to make them also to give you an introduction. And the last thing is specifically, if you have a sales role yourself, we call the fourth layer mirrors. So this means, imagine I'm a salesperson and I'm trying to sell software. Okay, so my traditional target audience is CIO or IT managers.
Right.
If they're not responsive, me being a salesperson, I'm now going to connect with the salespeople working at my client's company. Okay, because salespeople like to connect with salespeople. Marketing people like to connect with marketing people. So I go like, hey, Fed, I see you work as a salesperson, company X. I'm myself, I'm in sales. I like to expand my network with salespeople to stay on ahead of our business. And they will accept 90% of all salespeople respond positively to invitations from other salespeople. So now I have one or multiple connections at the sales department. I need to start to work with them. And then I can ask a question like, hey, imagine that your company would be a good fit for my company. Who in your company at IT do I need to talk to? So those four layers, okay? And another thing that's very important, you always have the company pain or need or challenge, okay? This is why buyers buy, but you also have an individual pain point. So for example, I know that if a sales director has an underperforming sales team, and my Sales Navigator training can help him to make his team better, I'm not only providing a solution for the company, meaning more leads, I'm also providing a solution for his individual pain of being manager of an underperforming sales team. If you understand the individual gain that your buyers have when doing business with you, you can come on much stronger to them.
This is amazing. One prompt that I would add here, guys, check the value proposition design so you can kind of put this in a greater perspective, even if you're like working on your products, etc. Like how do you match all the gains that your prospects could potentially have from your solution, which is exactly the great point that Richard just made. Just want to highlight that. Beautiful. When you look at these 5 steps, what would you say, which ones are the businesses mostly struggling with and why?
That's it. Do you have any idea? It's very easy. There are 2 steps that 95% of salespeople are struggling with. It's step 2 and step 4. Why? Because engaging and building trust means that you really need to, use time, energy, and make an effort. So the sales cycle on LinkedIn for 95% of salespeople is like this, and you probably recognize this. So they identify their target audience. Okay, so if you were my future client, I'm looking you up, being a CEO of a company. You will not notice. So that's step 1. Then, without engaging, I sent you a connection request and go like, hey, Ved, I see you are the CEO of this cool company, Lead Delta. We've worked with a lot of SaaS, blah, 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 blah. And then if you incidentally accept, my next message is a pitch. Okay, so without building trust, I now say, hey, thanks for accepting. I wonder when you have 30 minutes to watch a demo and to go through all the things we can do. And everybody on LinkedIn, we recognize this. I get pitched like 5 times a day. It's that bad. People I'd never heard of that go into my inbox and ask for half an hour or sometimes an hour of my time. So no engagement.
Be honest, it's more than 5.
If I count all the emails I get, it's more than 5. Yeah, you're right. But I sometimes, I sometimes even go like, dude, did you read your first sentence? I just got like an email yesterday. Oh no, it was a comment. No, it was a DM. Sorry, DM on LinkedIn that started like, I know you hate it when you are underperforming. So let's just be honest about it because I can be of help. And I was like, dude, who are you? I'm underperforming. Why slashing your client even before there's any form of communication? Anyway, so yeah, what I try to demonstrate to people, I try to convince people like, okay, if you identified 30 prospects or 30 people within a big company, try to engage for 2-3 weeks. Try to have insightful, relevant comments on those who are posting, okay? Show up with your name under their post so they have heard of your name, okay? Do that 2 or 3 weeks. If in those 2 or 3 weeks, you see engagement coming back, okay? So your target audience is responding to your comments like, hey, Richard, that's a great comment, thank you. Or you ask a question in the comments and they respond, that normally is the right moment to send a connection request and say like, hey, Ved, today I commented on your post about topic X. I saw your reaction. Thanks for that. Let's connect. And they will accept because now you refer to an engagement and a small mini discussion we had on your post, which builds trust, okay? And if you do this, you get up to 4 times more conversion than if you just go from identifying to connection.
Which here's a tough question. Which messages you hate more? The ones that are like like 10 A4 pages, or like that one with the nonsense question? Which one do you hate more?
Well, maybe hate is a strong word, but the ones that I actually read. So if you send me 2 or 3 sentences, I actually read them. And if it's bullshit, I feel very like, I go like, oh, why? If I get a very long message on LinkedIn or even an email, I don't even read it, Brad. I don't even read it. I go like, no, exactly. It's okay. So the ones that are very like 2-3 sentences and very badly crafted, those annoy me a lot.
Right, 100%. Well, I really like this explanation. That definitely truthful for me as well. The long messages you just archive. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like you're asking me to commit like 10, 15 minutes of my time to read a Bible you just wrote like in a message. Like, come on.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's an interesting fact. So you're now saying like, someone you've never heard of, you don't give him 10 minutes of your time to read or watch a video or watch a demo. Now, if we move to step 4, which is building trust, which also 95% of all salespeople forget, and you probably notice, so your prospect or your potential client accepts, and you're so enthusiastic that your next message is like, hey, I wonder if you ever thought about these type of solutions because blah, blah, blah. So you're trying to convert. Now, what we do, our next message after we see that a potential client has accepted our connection is what we call the build trust message. So it could be something like, hey, Ved, first of all, thanks you for accepting my connection request. We recently finished our latest algorithm report with all new insights 2024. We've shared it with some of our clients. They were very enthusiastic about it. Just let me know if you want me to send it to you. Okay, so what I'm actually doing, I'm having something, I'm convinced that it has massive added value for you,
right?
But I'm not going to send it to you. No, you need to give me permission.
100%.
Exactly. Okay,
100%.
And that's also something a lot of salespeople do wrong, because you connect and then you send them your article because you know it has added value, but if your prospect hasn't asked for it, it's still very pushy, you know? So if people give you consent, they give you permission, now you can have a next message saying, hey, Ved, Appreciate that you want to have it. Attached is our algorithm report, and let me know what you think of it. Okay. Now, I'll probably give you a week. And if you haven't responded in that week, now I follow up and say, hey, Vet, it's me again. Last week I sent you the algorithm report. I really appreciate a bit of feedback. And it's very funny because if you ask permission first and people said, send it to me, they feel more or less psychologically obliged to give you feedback. So your follow-up message asking for feedback in 80% will be, you will get a response with some valuable feedback. And then next step, if somebody says like, wow, this was the best article I've ever read, then my next message would be, well, Vet, I'm glad you liked it. We have more of this stuff, but wouldn't this be a great moment to have a 15-minute introduction call? Bingo, there we have the conversion.
100%. We have a great use case. Last year, LinkedIn organized like a global event, a virtual global event, and we noticed a whole bunch of great leads for Lead Delta that were on there. And I was like, what kind of value can we provide to these guys quickly? So we stayed throughout the whole event, took notes of the best sections, digested them into like tiny little golden nuggets, and we just said like, hey, I saw you at the event. I took some notes. You want me to send it to you? And a lot of people.
That's it.
That's it. So value is all around, right? Like you guys just think how I can really create value. And when you go from that question, everything else is like smooth and easy. This has been amazing, man. We have lots of questions coming in, so I actually want to dive right into that. Pay respect to our wonderful audience who's been active and engaging here. So thank you so much for that, Sebastian, Judy, Michael, and everybody else. Russell, so awesome seeing you guys here. All right, so Adrian had a question early on. Best recommendation for headlines. So many formulas are terrible. So Adrian is wondering what would you recommend, Rich? What's the best formula?
It's a great question, and I don't. Again, maybe it's cliche. I don't know if you can speak about best formula because for me, the most important thing on your own profile is that you are authentic. So if somebody does a headline in a way that it's just not you, don't do it. For me, what works, and I don't care how you write it down, but what works for me in your headline, you need to address your target audience and you need to give them some of your added value. Okay, so my headline currently is amplifying your sales and marketing teams by proven success LinkedIn strategies, something like that. So who is my main target audience? Sales and marketing teams. What I'm doing, I'm helping them to amplify their brand on LinkedIn by providing them with the proven tactics. Some people say the first 60 characters of your headline are the most important, okay, because those are the ones that are shown in the feed. So that's also something to take in consideration. So in your feed, people only see the first 60 characters, but on your profile, I would definitely have a more extended headline because it's the first text section that you can actually change yourself in what we call the first impression. So without scrolling, that's the only section that you can really make a very strong impression on your profile visitors.
Wonderful. Sandy's wondering this: if it's just you running your business, which is basically how we all started and Richard talked about it in the beginning,
yep.
What suggestions do you offer for managing multiple channels so people can contact you in ways that works for them as you recommend?
Yeah, so I understand the question. So just to give you an example, obviously you need to offer channels that you are active on, okay? So I'm not going to say like, send me a message on X if I'm not checking X regularly. For me, what I meant with different channels is some people, I'm not a caller, okay? I don't like to call people. That's from having worked with cold calling a lot of years. I don't like to call people. So my preferred channel is always written communication, email or LinkedIn message. And then if it resonates, I'm calling. The only thing, so that's what I mean. Offer people a way, where can they write you the best? Okay, is that email because you're every day checking your email, have your email address. If you check every day your LinkedIn box, then also a LinkedIn message. If you like, and if you know that once you get clients on the phone, you can convince them like in a better way, then go for your phone number. If you like to have Zoom calls, then have your calendar link so people can schedule a call with you. So that's what I meant with offering multi-channel approach. But obviously, it also needs to be channels that you are very active and that you feel comfortable on.
Lots of great questions. Thank you, Rich. There's a whole bunch more coming in. Plus, a lot of them have been asked prior. So I hope we answered some. But two last questions. All right. Does AI-generated content affect the reach of posts, and do hashtags help in any way? Mohammed is asking.
Okay. I'm going to give you a scoop.
Yeah,
and I know I know Ivana is on the call. At least she was. So I need to check it also with Ivana. But what we have currently seen is that hashtags have almost no impact anymore on the growth or reach of a post. Okay, and I know hashtags haven't been performing on LinkedIn like they did on other platforms. You know, if you follow a hashtag, you will almost never see a hashtag related post. And it always was between 3 and 5. Then it was like between 3 and 9. Now we have seen that there's almost no difference between posts that have hashtags, have 5 hashtags, have 10 hashtags. Second, what was the other question? AI generated, no?
Do hashtag, yeah, AI generated content, and do hashtags help in any way, right?
I think people already recognize content that is completely written by AI. They notice that it's not you, it's a different tone of voice, it's different choice of words. I do use ChatGPT for my content. You know, I use it to correct my grammar. I need it to sometimes help me to think about a triggering headline. But 90% of the content that you see my post is written by me. And if I go to ChatGPT, whatever produces ChatGPT for me never is the end result. I take it back again as my final draft. I make my last changes and then I publish it. Because if you only go to ChatGPT and see, write me a post, 300 words on this topic, and you post it to LinkedIn, you don't get the same engagement and views as your personally written content.
100%. Richard, we're right at the top of the hour, or actually 12:30 p.m. in this case here on this side of the world. Man, I really want to thank you so much for your time, for your energy, input. Lots of valuable. We're just going to quote it again. Golden nuggets, as everybody kept using in the chat here. Super happy to see you guys all. We are definitely going to do volume 2 of this. If you all agree, we have probably 15 unanswered questions. I'm going to send them to Richard, and if he has time and goodwill, he might be able to write back. Man,
cool.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.